It's funny when I'm right because in a previous video, I showed you guys a person who allegedly worked for the Twitter Trust and Safety and he was going to quit because of Elon Musk. And I made like 3 disclaimers that I don't care whether or not it's a troll. In fact, most likely it is a troll and it was a troll. But I was saying that it's more like a concept. Like you're going to see people having this level of meltdown simply because Elon Musk is trying to muscle in on the Twitter. So all those people that were, oh my god, my private company can do whatever it wants and you should shut up about censorship, the exact same people are now having an absolute meltdown on Twitter and are hashtag concerned. They're very concerned. And it's kind of funny because, as I pointed out in This Week is Stupid, Jeff Bezos, who bought the Washington Compost, now has the Washington Compost being hashtag concerned about Elon Musk purchasing stocks on Twitter. So everyone is hashtag concerned. If you're a decent person in our society and want to support our democracy, you need to be hashtag concerned over this with all the blue check marks. Because all the other people are having a field day over this. Everyone is laughing, everyone is making memes, everyone is making jokes. I mean, hey, if you're a person that got censored over edgy memes, are you really going to care what happens to Twitter at this point? Are you really emotionally invested in it? Of course not. Most people, by the way, don't even care about Twitter, but they don't realize just how much Twitter affects them. Because it does. You have blue check marks from separate news organizations that are supposed to be competing with each other, but on Twitter they set narratives in the open. Like you can see their public tweets, how they're setting narratives, how they're trying to get people fired, how they organize campaigns in order to silence dissent. And this is not just in the news. You can see it in the comic book industry. Like, I have seen blue check marks that are people who work for DC or Marvel that usually have 10 or 11 weirdos gravitating around them and using them as attack dogs. Like, the moment someone criticizes their comics, they get their attack dogs to try and dox that person, to try and get them off Twitter, and then to cancel whatever it is they're using. Like if it's a YouTube account, they're going to try to cancel that. They are using Twitter as a weapon in order to enforce conformity. And by that, I mean like the blue check marks and, you know, like people from mainstream media or video game journalist outlets or whatever, you know, like they're communicating with each other. And more importantly, they're radicalizing each other. So you get like more and more far leftist takes. And this is, you know, like happening on Twitter in front of everyone. And then they take those far leftist takes and they put them into their publications that can affect millions of people. So even if you're not using Twitter yourself, you are still affected by what is happening in it if you live in the United States. I mean, there are other countries where Twitter isn't that proeminent. But at least in the US and especially the United Kingdom, no, like Twitter affects you, whether you use it or not. So this is why they're freaking out, because Elon Musk is ruining their good fun, is ruining their game. And what's interesting is that initially, and I don't understand why this is a thing. Like, you have the Twitter CEO, which announced publicly that Elon Musk is going to be given a seat on the Twitter board. Now, what he failed to mention is that this deal came with strings attached. The only way that Elon Musk was allowed to be on the Twitter board is if he would promise not to buy more than, I think it was like 11 or 12% of the shares. So in other words, in order to try and prevent him from doing a hostile takeover, they offered him a seat on the board. Now what's fascinating is that Elon Musk declined the seat. Now, the reason I find this interesting is that this conversation, you would think would have happened behind closed doors between the Twitter CEO and Elon Musk. And only after Elon would have agreed or disagreed would they make the decision public. But the Twitter CEO has tried, I guess, to pressure Elon into accepting this by first announcing it, that he is inviting him like publicly, officially, right? Like he wants the public to know. And then he is saying, oh, well, you know, if he didn't decide to join the board, we believe this is for the best. You know, like it was for the best if he joined. It's for the best if he doesn't join. I don't think you understand what for the best means. Like, for the best is usually a single alternative. Like, only one thing can be for the best. Other things not necessarily have to be for the worst. But, you know, if you have a multiple option, only one can be for the best. At least this is what my mastery of English language tells me. But I guess like Twitter CEO speaks a different English language than me. Where for the best is if he joins, for the best if he doesn't. Okay, fine. So clearly not salty about it. Now, what's interesting is that this can be seen as two different ways, right? Because Elon now is trolling. So first of all, you have to understand, Elon Musk has a lot of fuck you money. Like he can actually, like if he chooses to. And I don't think he is. But if he chooses to, he can literally just play with these people and troll them. Like this is definitely a possibility. He is the richest man on earth. And he lives in very, I can't say precarious conditions, but given to how much money and wealth he has, the life he is having is beyond modest. Let's put it like that. So he can just play with his money around and freak some people out that he doesn't like. This is one possibility. Another possibility is that this can be actually a way for him to make more money. And the way for him to do that is he can pretend that he's going to do a hostile takeover, which will cause the prices for the shares on Twitter to skyrocket. And then he can just sell his shares that he already has. And he can make a lot of money by doing so. Or he might actually do the takeover. And honestly, that would be very interesting. Because even if he doesn't deliver on free speech, and honestly, I don't think you can have like free speech on Twitter. Like the only thing that I want at this point is for the rules to be equal to everyone. I mean, if you have a rule, I want the far leftist and the far right person and everyone in between to follow that rule. I don't want to see like some people are allowed to break the rules and some aren't. So that is what I want. And maybe Elon can give you that. I have no idea. But with that said, it's nice to see the meltdown. It's nice to see people freak out. It's nice to see the blue check marks where like, oh, my private company can do whatever it wants. Now say, oh, well, maybe my private company should be regulated by the government. Yeah. So it is funny, you know, in a way. But I hope it's going to end up being more than just funny. I hope it's going to end up being as something more concrete. Because Twitter, as I mentioned before, it's very important. And take into account just how important it is. Like when the president of Uganda decided to shut down Twitter in his country, the US president was #concern. Because they understand just how powerful social media is. It's a powerful tool which can shape governments. I know it sounds ridiculous because most people, it's like, well, I don't use Twitter, it doesn't affect my life. It does. It does. This is why the US government cares when Uganda decides to ban Twitter. So, let me know what you guys think. It's going to be very interesting to see what Elon does next. Take into account it took him a couple of months to buy this many stocks. And I guess now all eyes are on him. So if something is going to go down, people might actually notice. But he does have the money to buy all the stocks. I just want to say, he doesn't need all of them. He just needs 51%. Like if he has 51% of the stocks, then he has control of the company. In fact, he doesn't even need like 51%. I think if he even has like 40%, then he can just find someone else that has 10 and try to negotiate. And he can still get his way. So the more stocks he has, the more pull he's got in the company. And this is why he renounced the board seat. It's because there were strings attached. And the CEO of Twitter doesn't mention that there were strings attached. It almost sounds like, oh, well, we wanted him to have a board seat and he chose not to. Very interesting how certain key aspects were being left out. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.